What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. OG here, and I want to talk to you about beating the sweats. We all know the higher up you get in any mode, whether it's champs, rivals, the more success you have, the more sweaty the games get. So, if you want to keep your climb, if you want to keep your head and not go crazy playing FC, you're going to need to beat the sweats. It's simple as that. There's no way around it. There's no just chill gaming session where you can have fun and get to Elite Division. Maybe once upon a time, but definitely not anymore. But I'm here to tell you there are simple but effective ways that you can go into these sweaty matches and get more wins. You don't have to dread them anymore. You just have to come in, follow these tips, and see where it guides you. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, first things first, let's talk about the prerequisite, if you will, to beating sweats. And that is something I already mentioned, which is not coming in and expecting a quote-unquote chill gaming session. There is no such thing in Ultimate Team unless maybe you're playing squad battles at the lower difficulty levels. Speaking of squad battles, you can use that in Ultimate mode or maybe go into a draft, something where you can face an opponent and get your reaction times ready, get used to the controller. You don't want to just turn on your console and then start playing rivals. Guarantee you will not find much success if you do that. Every once in a while you might get a lemon of an opponent and whoop them, but for the most part you might go in and see that you were better than an opponent, but you have such a slow start it takes you time to get warmed up and you put yourself in too big of a hole to come back from. Do not risk it. Go in, get your warm up in. If you do go squad battles route, like I said, ultimate mode, not pro, semi-pro, something like that. You want to feel out the game and get it as close to the opponent that you're going to be facing. Mainly, you want to get used to the fast gameplay. Now, FC's never been slow. FIFA's never been a slow game. But now more than ever, it is very fast-paced. And even though you can still play beautiful football, you can still use skill and must use skill to have success. Because of how fast-paced it is, you are prone to a lot more mistakes. And if you come in and you're cold or you don't have the right mindset, you're expecting, like I said, a chill gaming session, you're just going to get destroyed. You're not going to be reacting fast enough. Even if you're able to win the ball sometimes, whether it's interceptions or tackles, the opponent's going to be able to tackle the ball right back. Or even if they pass it into your player, they're going to run right at you and steal it back. Even if you face skilled players, they're able to do this, but you will also face a lot of rats that are just good at that. They might be terrible at passing, they might be terrible at dribbling, however, they know what to do to just win the ball right back. They have a super quick reaction time, they're ready to sweat it out the entire game, and if you aren't, you are going to lose to these opponents that you otherwise could have beat if you were just prepared and focused. If you are looking for more of a chill gaming session or gaming sessions, FC, especially Ultimate Team mode, is not the mode for you, at least not at the higher divisions. Now, the thing about that I never understood is when players play these games and don't want to go the route that I'm talking about. They don't want to have sweaty sessions. What are you going to do? The point of playing these competitive games is you compete, you try to win, you get rewarded for winning by moving up the ranks, in which case facing sweats is inevitable. Unless you literally get to, Division 4, 5, it gets higher and higher every year, right? You always hear people say, Elite Division, is now, Division 2 is the new Elite Division, right? Or Division 4 is the new, Division 6 is the new Division 4, whatever, you get what I'm saying. It's somewhat true, but at the same time, it's more because there's just a lot more players playing the game, right? And there's a lot more sweatiness going on, players wanting these new rewards, the new promos coming out, and they're going to do whatever it takes to win, including get as ratty as it takes, get as sweaty as it takes. So if you aren't prepared, you better, or if you don't want to play in that sweaty type of mode, you might want to just stop at Division 7 and then just lose the rest of the time, right? Because if you climb any higher than that, it's going to get sweaty. That's the bottom line. So this video should be turned off if you're one of those players, because I can't help you beat sweats if you're not ready to be focused and to grind it out and to get into the game yourself. What you put into it is what you're going to get out of it, just like with anything. For those of you who want to continue to climb and get as high as possible and you're just struggling, especially with the sweatier games, this is the video for you. Now that we got that out of the way and you have your warm-up out of the way, you load up into a game, you're ready to go, and you don't even know if the opponent is a sweat or not. However, this is where tip number 1 comes in. Always come out on the front foot. So, what do I mean by that? Well, we've all done it and we've all played opponents who've done it. Let's say we kick the ball off and we go backwards and we kind of nonchalant pass around our back for a little while, or we're on defense and we don't go after the ball, we sort of back off, let the opponent have a few passes. That's starting off on the negative. That's starting off on the back foot. You want to do the opposite of that. If you kick the ball off, you want to go right for the jugular. Start moving the ball with a purpose, but aiming to go right at the goal and score. If you're on defense, you want to go right after the ball. Not diving in, but you want to have the intent of winning the ball back smart, but as quickly as possible so you can get to attacking. It is a huge mental battle when you go right after the opponent and go for the jugular. It shows you mean business, right? We've all been there. The reason why those players who go negative do that is because they're going to see the reaction. If you start backing off an opponent, they're going to see it as a sign of weakness. They're going to see it as a sign of lack of confidence, lack of readiness, and then that gives them in turn a huge confidence booster. When on the opposite of that, if you come right at them, whether you're on the attack, going for a goal right away, or defensively trying to win the ball right away, they're going to see that you mean business. And there are opponents out there that right then and there, they're defeated. It gets in their head and then they almost submit. Sometimes you'll even score right away and boom, the opponent quits. They don't want to play an opponent that's as ready to go as that. They know it's going to be a long day. They could even have more skill and maybe have been able to come back and beat you. But because you came at them right away and were able to score so quickly, or came at them right away and were able to win the ball back so easily, they say, nope, I'm out of here. I'll go to the next opponent and take my chances there. If not, again, you still get a huge confidence boost yourself while crushing their confidence, and you can get an early lead out of it or stop a potential early goal from them. You get them right out of their rhythm. Now, tip number 2 and 3 is actually really a tip 2A and a tip 2B. So first, we'll start with the attacking side of it. Always pass with a purpose. Always shoot with a purpose. Because the game is so fast-paced, many times players start getting lost in the speed of play and they start passing for no reason, just to keep pressing the pass button, and then they shoot for no reason. They win the ball, they get around goal, oh, I gotta shoot, and it will end up getting blocked, going wide, when all they had to do is calm down a bit. Now, that doesn't mean getting stuck, quote-unquote, with the ball under your foot and then the opponent steals it. You're still making your decisions fast-paced, but with a purpose. Every pass, you have a reason you're making it, because essentially at the end of it, you're passing the ball to create chances to score goals. So you're not just pinging the ball around for no other reason than to pass the ball really fast. It gets a lot of players in trouble and they end up missing that killer opportunity to make the pass that can create a chance. You just have to be smart about your passes. The quote for this is, move as fast as you can, slowly. All that means is that you're slowing your mind down, right? You're scanning the field and you are making the right plays, but still with quickness. Now, this is an acquired skill. It is not something you can just go do, but many players think if they just press pass over and over real fast, that's what I'm talking about here. It's not. What you'll end up doing there is, like I said, not only missing opportunities to create that pass or make that pass that will create the chance, but you will also end up losing the ball. You'll end up passing it right into the opponent more often than not because you don't even know what you're doing. You're just continuously pressing pass as fast as you can. Same with shooting. Many players get lost in wanting to score so badly that they get the ball anywhere near the goal and they just immediately pull the trigger, and it ends up being a terrible shot, when if they just made an extra pass or an extra 2 passes or maybe dribbled a bit, then they could have gave themselves a high percentage chance of scoring a goal. So you want to move as fast as you can, slowly, right? Every pass, every shot, everything you do, when you dribble, whatever, you have a purpose. The end goal is to, of course, score goals. So when you're making passes, when you're dribbling, when you're shooting, That has to be it. You're not just looking to shoot. That doesn't get you anywhere, right? So if you just slow down a bit, right, and make that extra pass, for instance, you get yourself a goal. If you just slow down a bit and make that correct pass instead of just passing to pass, for no reason, you're going to then lead yourself to a chance to score. Now, as we get into 2B, if you haven't noticed yet, I'm going to tell you, yes, you can take these tips, these principles into every game, not just against sweats. However, whenever you go into a sweaty match, whether it's a super sweaty but skilled opponent or a super sweaty and ratty opponent, what happens is many players forget all of these principles, right? And then that is actually how some of these less skilled players are able to stay in games. They go at 100 miles per hour, and they try to get you to start doing things without a purpose, shooting, passing, everything without a purpose. Then they create their chances by, which leads me into tip 2B, getting you to go crazy, diving in defensively, not having any rhyme or reason behind what you're doing except for running at the player with the ball as fast as you can. Now, if you play real football, you know that that's the first thing you're taught defensively is don't dive in. However, in these sweaty games, all of these things start going out the window because you almost are moving so fast, right? Sometimes you're getting angry because maybe you gave up a goal early on because things are going so fast, and you just throw everything you know and you typically do out the window. So, defensively, that means keeping your cool, doing things with a purpose just like the attack. Meaning, when you're player switching, you are looking to player switch to the player who can intercept that next pass, who can get in the line of an opponent dribbling to try to cut that off. You are defending with a purpose and not running around with any player you're controlling straight at the player with the ball and having no rhyme or reason why you're doing it other than thinking you're just going to win the ball back when really you're hurting yourself and you're going to give the opponent chances that they otherwise wouldn't have earned. So just make sure you're keeping your shape. When you're player switching, you're moving quickly with your player switches, right? Because you must do that in order to get your defenders in the right position to intercept the next pass, to get in the way of an open dribbling lane, to get in the way of a shot, whether you're going to block a shot or block a player dribbling into a shooting range. Whatever it is, you just have a purpose behind it. If you start just chasing the opponent, chasing the player with the ball, you are going to get destroyed. Tip number 3 for how to beat the sweats. Stick to your game plan. And if you're playing the sweaty rats, as opposed to the skilled players that lead to sweaty matches, right? You can change that to do not stoop to their level. Now I'll explain what I mean. When you're playing a skilled opponent and it's a sweaty match, maybe they are a skill spammer, right? Maybe they are a tiki-taka type of team. Whatever it is, right? Many times we start getting frustrated because maybe they're passing us in circles or maybe they're doing skill moves out the wazoo and they're just burning us left and right with these skill moves. So then we get frustrated, and guess what? We want to return the favor. Now we start trying to spam skill moves. Now we start trying to play tiki-taka, even if maybe that's not our style of play. Maybe they're a long ball spammer, or maybe they have a tall striker that they're trying to just serve the ball up to and do flick-ons. And then we try to do the same thing because it's almost like an ego thing. We want to show we can do it too, or they're frustrating us so bad with it that we want to frustrate them back. The problem is, they are sticking to their game plan when they're doing it. For you, you're not familiar with this style of play. So what happens is you leave the way you play, which is what can beat the opponent, and you start doing these things you're unfamiliar with just because you're trying to show them up or try to frustrate them like they're frustrating you, whatever the reason is. But then they get the best of you, and right there they have a huge boost in potentially winning the game because now you're not even playing in a way that got you where you are. You start trying to emulate what they're doing. So they right there win that battle because they took you right out of your game plan. Do not stoop to their level if you're playing rats either. Where it's different than like playing a skilled opponent and trying to do what I was just talking about is when you're playing a rat, they're trying to use every exploit possible. The thing is, in FC, there aren't many exploits, which is the good thing. However, there's always rats that are going to find some exploit. Right now, for instance, there is that R1 square long ball to send, attackers in on goal without having to have any build-up at all. That is leaving the game soon. Luckily, EA Sports did catch it, but it isn't gone yet. And I can tell you tonight, I've faced it several times. When this video comes out, maybe that exploit will be there. Maybe it will be patched out by then, or maybe there's some new exploit that's going to come out. You know that these rats are always finding new exploits. No matter what, though, do not stoop to their level and start doing what they're doing. Just like with a skilled player that's maybe doing skill moves and you try to do those, it's the same thing when a rat starts doing exploits and then maybe you get upset and you start trying to do those exploits. The problem is, that's how those rats got there, right? You didn't get where you got by using those exploits. So you're going to start doing something you're unfamiliar with, and that's going to play into their hands. Stick to your game plan, right? Do not start trying to do what they're doing. Both of these things, going away from your game plan is what it does, and it's going to make it less likely that you get a positive result, less likely that you win the game. Stick to your game plan, stick to what got you there, and you will have the best chance of success in winning these sweaty games. And last but not least, we will call this the cousin to tip number 3, which is tip number 4, keep your cool, right? Do not lose your head, do not go full tilt, as they say, because what happens when you do that is you turn one simple mistake into several mistakes. You turn one bad game where maybe you lost, right? You didn't play great, into several bad games where you lose several games. You need to keep your cool. If you aren't able to keep your cool after that one game, right, where you lost or you made the mistakes that have you frustrated, or maybe it's even the server lag or delay and you're just pissed off about the gameplay, whatever it is, if you aren't able to keep your head, you might as well take a break from the game. Until cooler heads prevail, until you can recompose yourself, do not play again, because all you're going to do is compound and make things worse and worse and worse. Compound mistakes, compound losses into more mistakes, more losses. In a game, especially in the middle of a game where you gave up a goal, or maybe you made a mistake that gave up the goal, or the opponent just destroyed you, right? And you're mad at yourself, you're mad because you're losing, whatever it is. You need to let that mistake, let that goal go and move on to the next play. Otherwise, you're just hurting yourself. Far too often, players end up doing this. How many times have we been on the receiving end of this where we score a goal, maybe the opponent made a dumb pass or made a dumb mistake, and then right away, boom, they go quit? How many times have we, on the other side of it, went to pause a game and quit a game, or came close to quitting, but then we go, you know what? We gathered our composure and we said, I'm not going to quit. I can come back from this. And we end up winning. Then we think back to that and go, man, thank goodness I didn't quit that game, because I ended up getting a win, right? Remember that whenever you're in these moments and your opponent scores or they make a mistake, even just in this one gaming session, you can scroll back through these highlights and you can see there were several times where I was down and I was able to come back. And there were several times where I made dumb mistakes that led to opponent goals, or the game, just because of the tackle backs or because of some lag, the opponent scored, and I just kept my cool. I realized, hey, move on. Mistakes happen. Whether it was in my control and I made a mistake, or it was, something that the game did as far as, the lag, or just a silly bounce or tackle back, whatever it is that can get us super frustrated, super angry, and get us off our game, we just got to forget that and move on. Even if we aren't able to come back and win the game and it turns into a loss, do not dwell on that loss, because then it's stuck in your head. You lose focus because you're thinking about that loss, and you turn that one bad game, that one loss, into several losses. Make sure you keep your cool, especially in game, right? You need to keep your cool because the game is so fast-paced. If you dwell on one mistake, it is just going to destroy you and you're going to cost yourself a game. But if after that game you're still not composed, you're still pissed off, take a break. Come back once you're recomposed, once you're focused, and it will be a lot better than staying in the game and playing pissed off, because you'll end up just losing anyway and just getting more pissed off. So, we all know that it can be tough to play sweats, right? But take these tips into these games, these sweaty games. Take them into every game, because you never know when you're going to play a sweat or not. And you will find yourself with a lot more success on the pitch. I can guarantee you that. Do not forget these tips or principles, whatever you want to call them, and you will have a bright future in FC. That is a guarantee, an OG guarantee, that is. So keep grinding, keep having fun, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out.